Baseball is back, and the first pitch is on Netflix. The New York Yankees, led by seven-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the San Francisco Bay to take on Rafael Devers' San Francisco Giants. This season kicks off with one exclusive opening night game. Watch MLB Opening Night, the New York Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, live on Netflix. Wednesday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Welcome to the Ramayana, Stories of Dharm and Devotion. I'm Sandeep, your storyteller, guiding you through the eternal journey of Valmiki's Ramayana. Our narrative draws deeply from Valmiki's original text and is enriched with stories from other Indian traditions, offering you a complete and immersive experience of this eternal tale. Share this podcast with your loved ones and let the timeless lessons of the Ramayana inspire your journey. In our previous episode, Lanka had burned under the fury of the Vanars. But the war did not slow. Tarani had fallen in devotion. Virbahu had sought liberation in Ram's hands. One by one, the pillars of Lanka had collapsed. Only two now stood between Lanka and its fate, Raavan and his most dangerous son, Indrajit. In today's episode, the night above Lanka turns heavy with dark intent. After the death of Tarani and Virbahu, Raavan burns with wounded pride. We will see him summon Indrajit and command him to end the war by slaying Ram and Lakshman. We will witness a terrifying ritual, where fire itself answers the call of a demon prince. We will see Indrajit vanish from sight and rain invisible destruction upon the battlefield. We will feel the shock of a cruel illusion, when Sita appears to fall before the eyes of Hanuman and the Vanars. We will see Ram collapse in unbearable grief. We will hear Lakshman question dharm in the fire of his anguish. And we will witness Vibhishan reveal a hidden truth, that the death was deception, and that a greater danger now burns at Nikumbhila. The war will shift from strength to strategy, from open battle to a desperate race against time. Lakshman will rise with a vow. Hanuman, Angad, Jambavan, and Vibhishan will march beside him. And at the gates of Nikumbhila, they will face a wall of steel guarding a fire that must not be allowed to live. Join me now, as illusion battles faith, as grief turns into resolve, and as Lakshman charges into darkness to stop a sacrifice that could change the fate of gods and men alike. The night above Lanka was thick and heavy. After the death of Tarani and Virbahu, Raavan burned with fury. His pride had been wounded. His generals were falling. His army was shaken. He rose from his throne like a storm rising from the ocean. He thundered, Indrajit, go. End this today. Kill Ram. Kill Lakshman. His voice echoed through the palace. Indrajit did not answer with words. He answered with preparation. Away from the noise of the battlefield, Indrajit stood before a sacred fire. But this was no pure sacrifice. Black goats were brought. Red cloth wrapped his head. Wood from the Vibhitaka tree fed the flames. He chanted mantras that were dark and powerful. The fire rose higher. The air became hot and restless. Then from the flames, Agni appeared. The god of fire looked at Raavan's son. Agni declared, you are blessed. Victory shall be yours. Indrajit bowed. His eyes were calm, cold, confident. He stepped into his golden chariot. God Brahma's missile protected him. And then he vanished. Suddenly the battlefield changed. A strange darkness spread across the sky. It was not the darkness of night. It was thick, heavy, like ink spilled across the heavens. The Vanars looked upward. They saw nothing. They heard nothing. Then arrows began to fall. Sharp, fast, relentless. Vanars screamed. Warriors fell. The earth shook with panic. Ram and Lakshman stood in the center of the storm. Arrows struck them. Their armor cracked. Blood flowed down their arms and chests. Yet neither brother stepped back. Ram's face remained calm. Lakshman's eyes burned with fire. They shot back into the darkness. Golden arrows flew upward. Sharp weapons sliced through the mist. Suddenly a cry echoed from the unseen sky. Blood fell from nowhere. They had struck Indrajit. But still he could not be seen. His chariot made no sound. His bowstring gave no warning. Only death moved in the air. Lakshman clenched his teeth. He shouted, this is cowardice. He hides like a thief. His breath grew heavy. He said, brother, allow me to use God Brahma's missile. I will destroy the entire race of demons today. Let Lanka end here and now. The Vanars heard him. The air trembled. The power in Lakshman's bow was terrible. Ram raised his hand. His voice was steady. He said, "No, Lakshman." Lakshman turned, still burning with anger. Ram continued, "It is not dharm to destroy an entire race for the sin of one. We do not kill those who hide. We do not destroy those who are not before us in battle." His eyes lifted toward the dark sky. Ram tightened his grip on his bow. He said, "Indrajit wants us to lose control. He wants our anger to blind us. We will strike only him." His voice carried a vow. He thundered, "No matter where he hides. In the sky. Beneath the earth. Even in the deepest worlds. We will bring him down." The mist continued to swirl. The arrows continued to fall. And high above, hidden in darkness, Indrajit listened. For the first time, he realized that Ram was not shaken. And that frightened him. The battle was far from over. The arrows did not stop. But something changed in the sky. Indrajit watched carefully. Ram stood unshaken. Lakshman stood firm. The Vanars, though wounded, did not retreat. Indrajit felt it. This would not be won by strength alone. He withdrew. Like a shadow dissolving into mist, he vanished from the battlefield and entered Lanka. Inside the city, his mind burned. He remembered Kumbhakarna. He remembered fallen brothers, uncles, other relatives and great warriors of Lanka. He remembered the shame in Raavan's court. He thought, if our enemies' bodies cannot be broken, their hearts will be. He mounted his chariot again. This time he did not rise into the sky. He came from the western gate. And he brought with him something darker than arrows. Indrajit began chanting. His voice was slow, controlled, dangerous. Dark sorcery moved through the air. Before him appeared a figure. A woman. Her clothes were torn. Her hair was loose and dusty. Her face was pale with sorrow. It was Sita. Or so it seemed. He placed the illusory Sita upon his chariot. She looked helpless, weak, afraid. Every movement was perfect. Every tear was real to the eye. From a distance, the Vanar army saw her. Hanuman saw her. His heart stopped. Hanuman rushed forward. Mountains were lifted. Vanars roared and charged. But then they saw clearly. Sita sat upon the demon's chariot. Her head bowed. Her body trembling. Hanuman froze. Pain pierced his chest. He had seen her in Ashok Vatika. He knew her sorrow. And now, Indrajit grabbed her cruelly by the hair. Hanuman's breath became heavy. His fists clenched. He roared, "Indrajit, you are born in the line of kings. You are the grandson of Pulastya. Yet you act like a beast." His voice shook the field. He continued, "To harm a helpless woman is the lowest sin. Even demons know this. Even warriors know this." His eyes blazed. He further said, "You invite the darkest fate upon yourself. No heaven will receive you. No honor will remain in your name." The Vanars listened. The wind stood still. Indrajit laughed. His voice was calm, cruel. He said, "In war, what brings the greatest pain to the enemy is righteous." He looked at Hanuman with cold eyes and continued, "Killing women may be forbidden. But ending hope is not." He pointed toward the battlefield and said, "If Sita dies, what remains? What is Ram fighting for? What is Lakshman protecting? What is Sugriv risking his army for?" His smile widened and he said, "I end this war now." Before anyone could move, Indrajit raised his sword. The blade flashed. He struck. The illusory Sita cried out. She fell from the chariot. Her body lay motionless. For a moment, the world became silent. Then Indrajit roared. A terrible, victorious roar. He shouted, "Your efforts are in vain. The cause of your war lies dead." The Vanars stared in disbelief. Hanuman stood frozen. Grief swept through the army like fire through dry grass. Some dropped their weapons. Some fell to their knees. Some turned and began to flee. Despair spread faster than any weapon. High above them, Indrajit smiled. The wound he had struck was not on flesh. It was on hope. And for a moment, it seemed deeper than any arrow. For a few moments, the battlefield stood frozen. The Vanars looked at the fallen form of Sita. Their weapons slipped from their hands. Fear entered their hearts. Some began to run. Some wept. Some shouted in confusion. The roar of Indrajit still echoed in the air. Hanuman stood unmoved. Pain burned inside him. But then something stronger rose. Duty. He leapt onto a great rock. His voice thundered across the field, "Stop." The fleeing Vanars turned. Hanuman cried, "Are you sons of mountains? Are you born of the wind and the forest? Or are you frightened deer? His words struck like blows when he said, You are the children of noble lineages. You are warriors chosen by Ram himself. Will you let one demon's trick steal your courage? The Vanars listened. Their breath slowed. Their shame grew. Hanuman with a heavy voice said, If Devi Sita has fallen, then shall we fall before the enemy without fighting? He pointed toward the demon's army and said, Let our strength answer them. A roar rose from the Vanars. It was not a cry of fear. It was a cry of fury. They charged. Mountains were lifted high. Trees were torn from the earth. Stones crashed down upon the demon ranks. Demons were crushed beneath peaks of rock. Chariots shattered. Elephants fell. The ground trembled beneath the assault. Hanuman moved like a storm. Every blow he struck sent demons flying. For a moment, the demons' lines broke. Indrajit watched. His plan had shaken them, but not destroyed them. Hanuman paused. He looked once more toward the place where Sita had fallen. A deep sorrow returned. He thought, if she is truly gone, then the very purpose of this war has changed. He gathered the Vanar chiefs. His voice was calm now. He said, We did not come for conquest. We came for Devi Sita. The words were heavy when he said, If she has perished, we must inform Ram and Sugriv. They must decide our next step. The Vanars lowered their heads. Pain filled their hearts. Hanuman ordered, We will withdraw in discipline. In order. No panic. The army slowly began to pull back. Their steps were heavy. Their spirits wounded. Unknowingly they left an opening behind them. And Indrajit saw it. Indrajit did not pursue. He turned his chariot toward a sacred grove deep within Lanka. A place known only to the demons. It was Nikumbhila. Nikumbhila was a place of dark power. He entered the sanctuary with his most trusted warriors. Torches burned red. The air smelled of blood and smoke. A fire altar stood prepared. Indrajit began another ritual. This one was darker. Flesh was offered into the flames. Blood flowed into the sacred fire. He chanted mantras meant for demons alone. The fire responded. It blazed fiercely. Its color deepened. It turned crimson like the evening sun sinking into a sea of blood. The sky above seemed to darken. The wind stopped. Even the birds fell silent. This was no ordinary rite. This was preparation for invincibility. Surrounded by his closest Rakshas warriors, Indrajit decided to complete the ritual according to the ancient precepts of his race. His face was calm. His mind was sharp. He thought, if this sacrifice completes, no one will defeat me. He had not broken Ram with illusion. Now he would seek to overpower him with destiny itself. Far from Nikumbhila, Hanuman and the Vanars moved toward Ram. They carried sorrow in their hearts. They believed hope had died. But fate had not yet spoken its final word. And the next battle would decide far more than they knew. The sound of battle rolled across the field like distant thunder. Ram stood alert. The clash of mountains. The roar of Vanars. The cry of demons. Then the sounds changed. They grew confused. Broken. Fading. Ram's heart tightened. He quietly said, Something is wrong. He turned to Jambavan and said, Go. Take the bear army. Support Hanuman. Jambavan bowed and moved swiftly with his warriors. But before they could reach the battlefield, they saw the Vanars returning. Not victorious. Not roaring. But silent. And at their front walked Hanuman. His shoulders were heavy. His eyes were dark with grief. Hanuman approached Ram. He knelt. For a moment, he could not speak. Ram stepped forward. He asked, What happened? Why do all of you appear so dejected? The question hung in the air. Hanuman's voice trembled. He slowly said, Today we saw Indrajit bring Devi Sita upon his chariot. He struck her down before us. The words fell like stones. Silence spread. Ram did not move. His bow slipped from his hand. His face lost all color. Then like a great tree cut at the root, Ram fell to the ground. The earth shook beneath him. The Vanars cried out in alarm. They rushed to him. Cool water was brought. They sprinkled it upon his face. They fanned him with leaves. But Ram lay motionless. His chest rose slowly. His breath was faint. Lakshman stood beside his fallen brother. But grief did not freeze him. It burned him. He looked at Ram. He looked at the sky. He looked toward Lanka. And anger filled his heart. He spoke. His voice was sharp. He thundered, Where is dharm now? The Vanars turned toward him. Lakshman continued, Ram lived by virtue. He gave up his kingdom. He chose exile. He harmed no one. Lakshman's voice trembled when he said, and what did dharm give him in return? He pointed toward Lanka and said, Raavan lives in wealth, in power, in pride. Virtue did not protect Devi Sita. Virtue did not protect my brother. His voice grew bitter. He continued, perhaps dharm is powerless without strength. He looked at Ram and said, you gave up Ayodhya. You gave up wealth. You gave up the roots of power. Wealth commands allies. Power commands respect. Authority fulfills duty. He clenched his fists and said, what use is virtue if it leaves the righteous helpless? The words were harsh, but they were born from love. Lakshman knelt beside Ram. He softly said, I speak not to wound you. I speak to awaken you. You are not a mendicant wandering without strength. You are Ram, a soul disciplined, a spirit unbreakable. Lakshman rose. His eyes blazed like fire. He declared, if Devi Sita has fallen, then Lanka will fall with her. He lifted his bow and promised, with these arrows, I will destroy this city. I will break its walls. I will scatter its armies. I will bring Raavan and Indrajit to the dust. The air around him trembled with resolve. Lakshman said, I swear, the agony caused by Indrajit will be repaid. The Vanars listened. The bears stood silent. Grief had filled the camp. But now another force began to rise. Not despair, but vengeance. And slowly, Ram's fingers began to move. The Vanars sat in silence. Some wept softly. Some stared at the earth. Lakshman stood guard beside his brother. Then Vibhishan arrived. He looked around. The army was broken. Hope had drained from their faces. He asked, what has happened? Lakshman answered with bitterness, Indrajit has slain Devi Sita. Ram has fallen in grief. Vibhishan's eyes widened. Then he shook his head firmly. He said, this is absurd. Such a thing is as impossible as the ocean drying into dust. The chiefs looked up. Lakshman frowned. Vibhishan stepped forward. He said, Raavan is mad with desire for Sita. He refused every warning. He rejected every counsel to return her. He would never allow her death. His voice was calm, clear. He said, Indrajit used illusion, dark sorcery. The woman slain before you was not Devi Sita. Murmurs spread among the Vanars. Lakshman's eyes narrowed. Vibhishan continued, it was a trick. A calculated blow to your spirit. He wished to break your courage. And more than that, he wished to buy time. Everyone was surprised. Lakshman asked, buy time? For what? Vibhishan said, Indrajit has gone to Nikumbhila. Lakshman straightened. Vibhishan continued, Nikumbhila is a sacred grove of the Rakshas. There he performs a sacrifice. If he completes it, he will become invincible. Not only invisible in battle, unconquerable. A threat even to the gods. Hanuman asked, what is the significance of this ritual? Why is it so dangerous? Vibhishan stepped into the center of the gathered chiefs. Torchlight flickered across his face. Ram still lay pale upon the earth. Beyond them, toward the western horizon, dark smoke rose into the sky. It curled like a black serpent. Vibhishan quietly said, Nikumbhila Devi is not an ordinary force. His voice dropped low, measured, rhythmic. He continued, the blood you saw on the field belonged to a puppet. But the blood Indrajit spills now at Nikumbhila is far more dangerous. He turned toward the rising smoke and said, he does not merely pray. He invokes Pratyangira. The Vanars listened in silence. Vibhishan continued, Pratyangira is also known as Athavana Bhadrakali. She is the living force of the Atharva Veda, the mother of mantras, the mistress of spells. He looked at Lakshman and said, that is the power Indrajit seeks. Do you understand her name? Prati means to reverse. Angiras is the attack. She turns the arrow back upon the archer. She sends the curse back upon the speaker. She is the shield against which magic fails. The smoke from Nikumbhila thickened in the distance. Vibhishan said, in ancient times, when Vipulasura tried to destroy the sacred rituals of the sages, Devi Lakshmi herself took this fierce form. She turned her lotus into a shield no weapon could pierce. She tore the demon apart. She protected dharm. His eyes darkened and he said, you know of God Narsimha, whose fury once shook the heavens. When he tore apart Hiranyakashipu, his rage did not fade. It grew. It burned beyond measure. The gods trembled. No prayer could calm him. Vibhishan's voice deepened as he said, God Shiva assumed the form of Shrabha, a bird-lion hybrid form with 2 wings of Shakti in the form of Shulini Devi and Pratyangira Devi to calm down Narsimha. It was then that Pratyangira emerged from the third eye of Shrabha. She roared. A roar so terrible that even the sky fell silent. And with that single sound, she stilled the fury of God Narsimha. She restored balance. Vibhishan's tone sharpened as he said, at this very moment, Indrajit feeds her fire with flesh and blood. He chants the secret hymns of the Atharva Veda. If he completes this sacrifice at Nikumbhila, she will cloak him in shadow. He will become like wind, invisible to the eye, untouchable by the sword. And worse, every arrow you fire will return to your own heart. A murmur of fear passed through the Vanars. Vibhishan continued, even Indra trembles at the thought of a warrior blessed by Devi Nikumbhila. The air grew tense. He said, if those ritual finishes, no power on this field will defeat him. Vibhishan looked at Ram, still lying upon the ground. He gently said, grief is natural. But grief now serves Indrajit. He turned to Lakshman and said, we must strike before the ritual is complete. It must be disrupted. Now. The Vanars felt hope stir again. Vibhishan bowed before Ram. He softly said, let Ram remain here. Let him regain strength. Lakshman must go. He turned toward Lakshman. He said, you alone can stop him. Your arrows burn like fire. Your resolve does not bend. He lifted his hand and said, as Indra once wielded his thunderbolt to destroy his enemies, so must you. Lakshman's grief turned into focus. His anger became purpose. Behind them, Ram's breathing steadied. The fog of sorrow began to lift. The war was not lost. Sita lived. But time was short. And at Nikumbhila, the fire of sacrifice was already rising. The smoke continued to rise. Time was slipping away. Meanwhile Ram's eyes slowly opened. Grief still weighed upon him. But his mind was clear. He had listened carefully as Vibhishan spoke of Nikumbhila and the terrible vow of Indrajit. Ram said, tell me plainly. Vibhishan bowed. He replied, there is only one way. God Brahma once granted Indrajit a boon. He cannot be killed if he completes the sacrifice at Nikumbhila. If he rises from that altar with the fire fulfilled, he becomes unstoppable. Invisible like the sun hidden behind clouds. Untouchable even to the gods. Lakshman's jaw tightened. Vibhishan continued, but there is a weakness. If he is attacked before he reaches Nikumbhila, or while he stands in the middle of the ritual or before the sacred fire is completed, only then he can be slain. Silence followed. The wind shifted. Time was short. Ram slowly rose to a seated position. Pain still lived in his heart. But purpose now replaced despair. He firmly said, Indrajit must not complete that sacrifice. He turned to Lakshman and said, you will lead this mission. Lakshman bowed deeply. Ram continued, Hanuman will go with you. The chief Vanar commanders will stand by your side. Jambavan and the bear army will support the charge. And Vibhishan, your knowledge of his sorcery will guide them through the darkness. Vibhishan bowed. Ram's voice became steady and royal. He said, this is no ordinary battle. Strike swiftly. Strike before the fire reaches its peak. Lakshman stepped forward. The fire in his eyes had returned. He put on his shining armor. He lifted his legendary bow. He touched Ram's feet. He said, today, my arrows will pierce Indrajit ritual. They will fall upon Lanka like swans diving into a lotus pond. His pride will end. He walked around Ram in respectful circumambulation. Ram placed his hand upon Lakshman's head. Ram blessed, victory will be yours. Hanuman stood ready. Angad tightened his grip on his mace. Jambavan gathered the bear warriors. Vibhishan pointed toward the western forest and said, Nikumbhila lies beyond that ridge. The army moved with grim determination. No songs. No roaring. Only steady steps. The smoke of Nikumbhila grew darker as they approached. Soon they reached the outskirts. And there, they saw it. Chariots stood wheel to wheel. Flags waved high. Spears and swords glittered. Elephants blocked the paths. Raavan's elite forces guarded the sanctuary. Lakshman did not hesitate. He turned to Hanuman. To Angad. To Vibhishan. He said, now. With a cry, he plunged forward. Hanuman leapt beside him. Angad smashed into the front ranks. Vibhishan guided them through the formations. Lakshman entered the demon ranks like a beam of light cutting through thick darkness. Arrows flew from his bow. Chariots shattered. Warriors fell. The race had begun. Behind the wall of steel and blood, the fire at Nikumbhila still burned. And every heartbeat brought Indrajit closer to invincibility. In this episode, we saw the night over Lanka grow darker than ever before. After the fall of Tarani and Virbahu, Raavan's fury burned without restraint. His pride was wounded. His armies were shaken. And in his desperation, he turned to his most dangerous weapon, his son Indrajit. We witnessed a ritual of fire and blood. Black smoke rose. Dark mantras were chanted. Agni himself answered. And Indrajit stepped into battle protected by illusion and shadow. Invisible to the eye, he rained arrows upon Ram and Lakshman. The sky turned black. The battlefield trembled. Yet even unseen, he could not break their resolve. Then came a deeper wound. We saw Indrajit unleash cruel deception. An illusory Sita placed upon his chariot. Before the eyes of Hanuman and the Vanars, she appeared to fall. Hope seemed to die in a single stroke. Ram collapsed in unbearable grief. Lakshman's heart burned with rage. For a moment, even dharm was questioned beneath the weight of sorrow. But truth does not vanish so easily. Vibhishan arrived with clarity and courage. He revealed the illusion. He exposed the true danger. Indrajit had not ended the war. He had only begun a greater gamble. At Nikumbhila, a terrible sacrifice now burns. If completed, it will make him invincible, invisible, untouchable even to the gods. We saw grief turn into urgency. Ram rise from despair. Lakshman accept command. Hanuman, Angad, Jambavan, and Vibhishan gather beside him. And together they march toward the dark grove where destiny waits. At the gates of Nikumbhila, they found a wall of steel. Chariots stood wheel to wheel. Spears glittered. Raavan's elite guarded the fire that must not be allowed to live. And without hesitation, Lakshman plunged into the demon ranks like light entering darkness. The race has begun. Behind that wall of weapons, the flames still rise. In the next episode, we will see Lakshman, Hanuman, Angad, and Vibhishan break through the defenses and confront Indrajit in the heart of his ritual. We will witness battle in its fiercest form. Mantra against arrow. Sorcery against resolve. The war of Lanka now stands at a turning point. Join me in the next episode, as fury, illusion, and fate meet once more on the burning fields of Lanka. Share this podcast with your loved ones and let the timeless lessons of the Ramayana inspire your journey. Though the details of this ancient tale may vary across traditions, its essence reminds us of the enduring power of compassion, courage, and hope in the face of adversity. Until next time, may the light of dharm illuminate your path and fill your heart with peace.